So I guess the most sensible thing to do would be to cook smelly food outside of the van, not inside. But it seems I've gone through the whole of my life having fun by not being sensible, according to my first wife as she walked out the door. Or was it my second wife? Definitely wasn't my third. Anyway, who's counting? This is the smelly food extractor hack. Okay, so barbecues are great, but I cannot be the only person who wants to be able to cook inside their van as well as outside, so you've got an all-weather sort of cooking opportunity. And yeah, I like to cook some eggs and breakfast, and yeah, smelly food inside that tin box is not good. So I thought I'd do what everyone would think they do, put some extraction in. But there is a bit of a nuance around that I think I want to share, because it's not as easy or not as obvious as one first thinks. So you go onto the Argos or the Home Depot or B&Q websites, and you can see all these separated extra low voltage fans, and they're designed to safely use in wet environments. And you see, haha, these are 12 volt. And in the UK, we've got things like Xplayer do them, Manrose, a Rezo, I think. There's just several makes. SELV, don't worry about that, it's just the way the transformer works. But they're 12 volt, you think, great, I can hook it up to my system. And which is great, but take a closer look at the electrical spec. Okay, so if I zoom in on that, yeah, 12 volt, but look again, is AC. Okay, there's no rectification in it, it's AC. So of course we've got DC systems in our vans, it ain't going to work. All right, so I got to hack around it. And I did try computer fans, I tried the big servo ones. Finally, I got that in my little ensuite thing to get sort of the smellies out. But when you're cooking eggs, you want something a bit more manly than those little 12 volt computer fans. They're not that good actually for that purpose. And this channel's all about hacks. Hacks is a much overused word, so we define it quite rigidly. And one of the definitions is using something to make a solution for some problem, but that something is actually designed for something else. Okay, and what I've put in my van is a boat bilge fan, okay, and this is an example one, and these are great for a number of reasons. First of all, they kick out a hell of a lot of movement in the air. You can get a real big hurricane drawl from your van. The other thing is, of course, they're 12 volt, that's the beauty of what you're looking for. The speed of those fans in terms of the amount of air being extracted can be varied, and you can do that with what's called a PWM controller. They're cheap as chips. Don't worry about it if you're not into electronics. I'll show you how to wire them up. They're really, really simple, but it solves the problem. So I will show you briefly my layout, but of course all fans are going to be different, and then we'll look into how to use these bilge fans as extractors for smelly food. So there's my hopper. I cook the smellies, and you can see there's an overhead locker above it, and I've got my extractor unit in there, which I'll show you. But I've also done this little drop down flap to create a sort of hood effect to try and contain the smellies. Looking up under the overhead locker, there's the grill, which is the inlet for the extractor to take away the smellies. So look at the back of my van, you can see I've got a vent outlet on the back to extract all the smellies from. So opening up the back doors of the van, you can see I've got a ducting at the top there with the bilge fan inside, which is the extractor unit, and it's got a sort of a compression seal to seal it against the back door when it's closed. Okay, we're back in the van now, so I want to demonstrate how this works before I show you how it's wired up and everything. So this is my that particular one's my on-off switch. I turn it on there. And this is the PWM controller I told you about, how to adjust the speed. If I just turn it up a little, you should just be able to hear a gentle extraction going on. So I might just have it on that if I just got a general sort of low smell food on the go. But if I get something smelly like eggs going, I can crank it right the way up and listen to this. I can feel myself getting sucked towards it almost. That will get the smell of any food out. So this is a typical PWM controller, and the cheapest chips, you go onto eBay, type that in, you get loads come up, about 5 or 6 quid from China, maybe a little bit more from the UK, but be under no illusions, they are made in China. And these are great little bits of kit for controlling the intensity, for want of a better expression, of DC circuits. So you can use them to control motors like we have here. And some of you may have seen the skylight hack I did, where I converted a cheap Fiamma skylight into a quasi max air by putting a fan in it, and I controlled that fan with a PWM controller, but also to adjust the intensity of some underlocker LED lights, because you can't just have a variable resistor. They need a constant voltage, and these bits of kit provide the constant voltage, but basically pulse that voltage across so it controls the intensity. And they're very easy to wire up, and I'm going to show you how to do that into the fan now. But just one little bit of caution: take a good look at your fan that you're going to use, or your, in this case, the boat build fan, and note the rating. I think mine's 6 amps. Get plenty of capacity in hand on your PWM controller, because motors have like a surge when they start up, and these little cheapy ones from China, they don't handle that well if they're on rate. So for example, I've got a 10 amp controller for mine, even though the build fan itself is like a 6 amp fan, and it works absolutely fine. Okay, so let's now have a look how we wire them up. So very simple then, 4 terminals, 2 inputs, 2 outputs. You bring a positive and negative from your battery or your power source into the PWM controller, and you take a positive and minus feed out from the PWM controller to the build fan. Simple as that, and the tags should be marked up on the polarity, etc. So there you go. My build fan will extract 130 cubic feet per minute. That's a hell of a lot of air, enough to get the smelliest of curries and eggs out from my tin box. So there you go. That's the Smelly food extraction hack.